Today, we talk about the power of education. I think it is a beautiful topic to identify the low intelligence and high intelligence on a spectrum of far left and far right in relation to how we all operate in today's society. It's an interesting and really important conversation in my mind because there's a lot of ignorance in regards to how powerful and important education is. And there is a massive collective that do believe that you don't need to be educated, you don't need to be smart, you don't need to do anything, to be honest. You can still be just as equal as the others. But that's a self-distortion to make those who are less educated feel better about themselves. And when we talk about that, we dive into what is really education then. Because the implication that you have a qualification at a higher level doesn't make you smarter than someone with a qualification at a lower level. So what is education? What is intelligence? What is smart? So that's where we're going today. And in that conversation, we're going to cover different learning styles, different teaching styles, the importance of role models and role modeling behaviour, especially in early childhood. Role modeling behaviour is everything. Community behaviours as well, ecosystem behaviours, the way in which we mirror and mimic our environments, independent learning, and then also we're going to dive into a collective consciousness. Let's go, guys. The most important thing that we should know about education and learning is that it starts from role models. From the start of time, the moment we come out of the womb, we learn from our environment, we learn from other human beings surrounding us, and that is how we evolve. So when we talk about ancestral curses and we talk about family dynamics, we're really touching on the fact that there is this nature versus nurture debate. Was you born with that sense of self? Was you born with that ability, that gift? Or was that something that was nurtured in your environment? And the debate goes back and forth about that because a lot of the time, nobody really understands or sees the underlying factors of what an environment and a role model really does, because no one's sitting there teaching you the way, right? But someone is. So your brother, your sister, your siblings, most importantly, are the first ones that teach you the way. If you've got an older brother or an older sister, they inherently, sorry, not even the right word to say inherently, but somewhat in regards to being the older generation of you, the one born before you, if they are in close proximity to you, you live with them, you see them every single day, you start to learn from them, right? When you go simple as rolling over to crawling to walking, you see someone who is most similar to you and you follow them. That is the stepping stones in life, period, full stop. Right? Because it really comes down to, how do I do that? How do I climb those stairs? How do I do that drawing? How do I pick up the remote and change the channel? Simple things. How do I operate that iPad? You're not going to look to your mother and father as much as you would because they're an older version and they have an authoritative role in the environment. So you see them as a stronger leading figure, someone who puts food on the table, who controls you, right? So you look to them for sustenance, for safety, for security, for those Maslow hierarchy of needs, but you don't look to them for copying mechanics as much as you look towards your sibling, yeah? Because your sibling is more your size, right? You're aware consciously from a very young age that although I can't run as fast as my brother, I will one day. And I can compete a little bit more with my brother because they're not as big as my dad. And I could never do what my dad does, but I can do what my brother does. This is all within range as well. We do have 10 years, 20 years of age gaps. So it's different. And we have a range of different family makeups now. You live with your cousins. You live with your uncle and auntie. You live with your grandparents. You live with your nieces and nephews. It's very, very different. But once again, it's that age range. It's that consciousness that you have inside yourself that that person is closest to you in age range and ability. So you're more likely to copy and align to them and build closer relationships with them as well. So you might have closer relationships with some cousins or some neighbours or family members that are more aligned to you. If you went to nursery or daycare or a childminder and you're around others that are your age and of similar ability and even potentially look similar, then you're going to find kinship there, alignment there. You're going to want to connect more with those kind of people, okay? So when we dive into the conversations of role modeling, it really comes down to you looking to someone to hold. That's the truth. I really want to find the right wording. Hold. Someone you hold in high regard. Someone who holds the light for you, the direction, the path, the purpose. Yeah? When you have a role model, you have something to look up to. It's the tough word, role model, because it comes with a lot of connotations that a lot of people don't want to pick up and carry and wear as their own. I don't want to be a role model for you. I always use Cardi B as the example. She went through the era where everyone was always shitting on her, telling her she's a parent, she needs to be a role model. And she's like, I didn't come into the game to be a role model for no one. So don't put that shit on me. Take it off. Be your own fucking role model. But these labels, they attach themselves to you. These expectations, they attach themselves to you. Your identity, it creates an energetic vibration. Your auric field, you give off something. We all transmit. So you're transmitting a vibration that others who are in need of that flux, that vibe, they come towards you. I want to use Krishan Rock as an example for this as well, because, I mean, my goodness, her journey in life and her story as someone who's kind of gone viral, and anytime she's on someone else's podcast, she's more than likely going to make them blow up and go viral. She's kind of got that vibration where everyone looks up to her, and that's hard to be looked up to, you know? In that way, she's so young. She's been through so much. Had a shitstorm of a life with Blueface. Dragged into a lot of toxicity and a lot of public drama and bullshit and a lot of stuff that's kind of been really damaging to her reputation, right? But not only that, she was following a very specific community culture. Krishan and Blue Rock's relationship that played out on Zeus Network, feel free to go and watch it, right? You can understand that's a cultural thing. That's a black people thing, right? Even worse when we throw in, we didn't know we were going here today, but the conversation goes where it does in forms of education. We use Jalen as an example, his actual baby mum from the beginning. There's a clip of Blueface, yeah? And he's on a Sprinter and he's doing an interview and he's talking like side by side with Jalen. This period of time he's still seeing Krishan on and off and he's trying to flex on Krishan like he don't want her no more. And but in that moment, the woman asks him what's his favourite type of porn. Sitting next to his white baby mother, he said ebony. Quick as day. Quick as day. That sums him up as a man, in my opinion. And it just makes me really disgusted because is a collective of men out there like that are not only misogynistic, but do really awful manipulative things to tear women down. Whether or not his favourite form of porn is or is not ebony, he's in an interview and he's choosing to publicly degrade his white woman and just minimise her reality and her ability to be fulfilling sexually. Right? When we look at it from a psychological standpoint, he's undermining her and being disrespectful. But there's a culture where in the black community, black is best, Black love is the hashtag. Black love is the power. Black love is the way. So any other conversation isn't okay, and demoralizing women, full stop, is advocated for. It's a power move. Yeah, my bitch ain't shit, right? Stay over there. No, I just put up with her. Like, there's issues there, but learned behavior, learned community behavior, black culture, block life. Rude to say so, but I'm gonna be that way today because that's the conversation I want to have, and because yesterday I also did see a clip from was it Takeover Battle? I'm not sure what channel it was, but it was Caution and Shyrock having a battle. I think it only came out a few months ago, if I'm correct, could be wrong. But during the clash, her man kept like finding his way into the center of the conversation and just egging up himself. And at one point, he kind of grabbed her by the throat, like in applause. It was so disgusting. I was just like, oh, what a dick. Like, he grabbed her by the throat, like choking, which is obviously sometimes a sexual thing in the bedroom, fair enough. But in public, to reward her or imply he's impressed with her behavior, he grabbed her by the throat during her performance. This is her time to shine. Take your hands off her neck and stay out the camera lens. Yuck. Gross. Not a fan. I hate shit like that, and that should not be acceptable. But once again, community, culture, learned behavior, role modeling. Yeah? That's a manipulative move on his part. He's controlling. He's saying, even though she's clashing, I'm the center of attention here, and at the end of the day, she's my bitch. So publicly, in front of everyone here, I'm a choker, just so you know. She gets choked when she does good. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. So debilitating for women, so not what we need to see. So ingrained into the culture, so much learned behavior, okay? So let's talk about that. And that's when education comes into play. Low intelligence, high intelligence. Because there has to be a point where we get to the threshold, or we cross the threshold and we go, that shit's not okay. Choking is beautiful in the right terms and conditions when it's all lovely and consensual in the bedroom and you're getting it in. Let's go. Not a problem. Yeah? But when you want to behave that way publicly as a way to dominate your woman and set precedents for yourself, because I don't know who our man is. I don't know if he's on other battle raps and he does things for himself. Probably not. For the fact that he needed to do that in public suggests he ain't shit. Period. So, the point with that is low intelligence is a thing that all communities experience. So what I'm talking about now is unique communities, unique demographics, unique ecosystems that all have low intelligence within it and high intelligence within it. I can always speak on the black community because I'm black, duh. Easy, right? But we could also talk about it from different contexts. Instagram community. There's low intelligence in that community. There's high intelligence in that community. YouTuber community. High intelligence, low intelligence. When it comes to social media communities, you often consider the high intelligence and the low intelligence to be tethered to the numbers. The YouTubers with millions are obviously more higher intelligent than those with 4 views. But is that accurate? Is that genuine? Is that true? The paradigms within this conversation shift and we spiral in and out of high and low, up and down, right? Top down, bottom up philosophy here in this conversation because it exists on a spectrum. Intelligence exists on a spectrum. All things exist on a spectrum. Welcome to Hermitology, you know? But on that note, the spectrum is so widespread, it is our ability to see ourselves on the spectrum and where we move to that really provides the power in our intelligence in education. So if you think you are stupid as fuck, think again. That's the truth. Everyone here is intelligent because you have intelligence. Whether you deem your IQ to be low or high, it's conjecture. It's about your ability to weave in and out of your inner knowing. trusting in yourself, yeah? Being one with your own capacity. Let me break this shit down to you in the best way I can, okay? Throughout school days, I was in the lowest sets in early years in primary school. That is up until the ages of 11 years old. That's primary school in the UK. After that, when you get to like 11, 12, you go to secondary school all the way up until 16. Then you leave school at 16 and then you go to college. Right? Not everyone even makes it to college. Some people don't even make it out of school. I left school at the age of 16 with 1 GCSE in drama, obviously. Bad bitch, dramatic always. Left school with 1 GCSE in drama, which I didn't even rehearse for. I smoked weed all of my last 3 years in school, and was a very bad child, had a lot of stuff going on in the home environment that made it abundantly clear I was not going to succeed. I was always in the lowest sets for all forms of education. Even in primary school, the same situation. I was kind of like the special needs crew that get taken out of the class for special intervention groups. That was me. I believed mathematics awful. Still times tables in me, I don't even understand it. I don't get on with times tables. 4 times 4, 7 times 7, 8 times 8. What is that? Get it away from me. It doesn't make sense. Yuck, it makes me nauseous. Ugh, times tables. But I'm a bad bitch now and I'm 36 and I'm banging out physics and I'm doing quantum mechanics and I'm a savage in the field. How did that happen? Because I'm an independent. I trusted in myself. This is what we're talking about today, and this is why it's incredibly important. Confirmation for this as well, just so we know that the institution is involved in this, because we need confirmation. If I didn't go to university or anything, I would have continued to believe I was dumb all my life potentially, yeah? But I worked for a long time coming out of school. I went straight to college at 16 years old, studied childcare and education at level 2, worked myself up from level 2, level 3, level 4, and was working in between that time doing work placements, then got hired through my work experience and work placements, and then went on up the route that way. Got to a higher professional diploma as part of working in childcare and education, and then after that left and went uni full time. By the time I got to uni, I was 28 years old. I was still struggling doing my level 4 whilst employed. So I didn't think I was very smart at all. But the moment I got to uni and I studied child psychology, developmental psychology, I was flabbergasted at how intelligent I was. I was taken aback at not only how much I loved the field, how much I loved studying this, but I was taken aback that I was getting really high grades. I was getting firsts. My first ever submission, I got a 2-2. And then when I realised that was still quite high compared to everyone else and what their results were, the next time I submitted my next assignment, I got a first straight away. And then after that, year 1 in university, I was just banging out first. And I was flabbergasted that I even had the ability. Everyone was like, what did you get? What did you get? What did you get? And I'm like, I got a first. And they were like, and when I hear everyone else's grades, I was like, whoa. I was shocked. Remember, I came from foundation sets, the lowest sets possible throughout all of my education. And only now, at the age of 28, doing psychology, am I getting the highest grades. I then went on to continue to get the highest grades, even got accused of plagiarism, told this story many a times, because they said that no way you done this work on your own, you bought this online. That's how good your work is. You bought it online. They still gave me a shit grade because it didn't follow the rubric. Don't start me off on rubric grading systems that are destroying the planet. But that's a whole other conversation for a whole another day. Either way, my work was so good they believed I bought it, and they pulled me in front of a plagiarism board, which was really only 2 people in a mini office, but hey ho, they gassed it. But they implied that you paid for that. There's no way you did that. That is not something that someone in a second year of an undergraduate degree would ever do. Yeah. So it takes moments like that, really dumb, shitty moments like that I now use to glorify my excellence. Imagine, to ground the reality that I am intelligent. Because we need to find belief and stability somewhere, don't we? We have to believe in ourselves somehow, do we not? And unfortunately, that is my ticket to glorification. How embarrassing. Yeah? And I say that to say there are always going to be really awkward, alternative, somewhat may feel clouty or stupid to even mention as forms of success, because in any other dimension or someone else's perspective, it wouldn't be a success. But when you come from the hood and you come from the ghetto and you have it hard, you don't have the easiest life, you find glory in what you can and you tell everyone else to suck a dick if they say otherwise, right? Because at the end of the day, success looks different to all of us and intelligence looks different to all of us. And in that moment when I was incredibly suicidal in my second year of my undergraduate degree with my dad, who was really not well at the time, right? If you go back and listen to my other podcast, you'll hear the story about my dad that I dived into. So with that in mind, that was the same year, you'll understand we have to take the wins where we can find them. And that's unique to us. That's how we learn uniquely. In that moment, yeah, when I left crying my eyes out, when they confirmed that it was indeed my work, and I'm crying through tears to explain what I've written and why I've written it, and they, like, the woman was harping on about the fact that I recalibrating the psyche. What do you mean when you say recalibrating the psyche? Like, I was bawling my eyes out, crying. I was so broken internally, yeah? I was so hurt. I was so insulted. I was so belittled and minimized and made to feel like I am shit. And I'm sitting here trying to tell this woman here why on earth I've spoken lengthily here about recalibrating the psyche. And I'm being professional and nice. You can hear the ratchet vibration in me wanting to get hood and niggerish again. This content has gone left today. I'm so sorry, guys. I like to be professional and keep this a very code switching arena. My goodness. But I wanted to turn up and go. I was really rude, right? I was really irate, but in a professional way. Like, I would get a little bit snappy and then calm back down, get a little bit snappy and calm back down, because it was really, really painful. And it was the conversation I wrote, right? The conversation I had, the introduction, it was a reflexive piece at the beginning, and it was talking about social constructs. And if I can find it, I'll maybe put it in the description. I'm not sure if I want to or not, but we'll see. And I spoke about what it means to be a black woman. And it was a really personalised piece. I was going through a lot in my life, like I said. And I wrote about what it meant to be a black woman and how social construction throughout history has really framed the narratives that we all carry today, like woman, like black, like this, or like medium, clairvoyant, whatever. And this one was a skeptic, full stop, of mediumship. We've had battles in lectures over and over again. So it was just a really painful space for me. And after that, I had a bit of a breakdown for a little while. I just was really withdrawn and really emotional wreck. I was really, really struggling. And that changed me. I said, fuck it. I'm not doing this. I'm not having this. I'm not living this way. I'm not going to have anyone on this planet tell me what I can or cannot achieve. I'm not going to be limited by my level, because you're saying I'm an undergraduate and at a level 2 that's not good enough. Like, that could never do. You could never do this. No way an undergraduate could do this. So no, she said, someone like you. That's what really burnt my soul. And someone like you could never do this. What the fuck does that mean? Someone like me. What? Black woman, undergraduate. How disgusting. How disgusting. As a leading professional, you think it's okay to speak to me like that. And then you're implying that this work's too good for me. But then you still grade it really poorly as well, after the fact that it's proven to be mine. Now it's mine, you grade it low. How's this work too good for me and too good for someone at an undergraduate level in year 2, but you still grade it trash after the fact? That's a dickhead move, yeah? So that's what changed me. And that's what, after that, School of Hermitology got incorporated as well after that. Because not only was I suicidal during that window of time, yeah, sorry, I like to act like suicidal ideations aren't a real thing or a possibility. And we try to hold on to the ideology of never getting whacked and McAfee liberation. But there are times where you question your purpose on this planet. And being here becomes intensely hard, and sometimes tapping out does feel like the easiest way to go, you know? And I bring that up today just to be honest about that. There has been windows of time in my life where I've been suicidal. Because I felt like I'm not intelligent enough. Because I feel like I don't fit in. I feel like I don't belong, yeah? Hardest periods of time of intelligence for me as well is when I feel like I'm having an intelligent moment. I feel like I am finding my way, and I choose to share that with other people, and other people look at me blankly. Do you know how long it took me to understand that when everyone else just stares at me blankly, it's because they're dumb as fuck, not me? That was a really harsh awakening, because quite frequently we give our power away. You're positive, you're amazing, you're empathic, you're in a good place mentally, you've worked on yourself, you understand mind, body and soul, you embrace God, spirituality, you have faith and abundance. So you project that outwardly to everybody else as well, and you want to give other people that scope of you or that perspective of you. But quite frequently in your misinterpretation of that, you perceive others to also be that. And you put other people on a pedestal, or you give other people the light that you've accrued. That's a big mistake that happens with a lot of us light workers out here doing the damn thing. Yeah? And then you go through a torturous journey where you realise, whoa, this world and these people around have not done the work like you have, or not as nice as they appear to be, and you need to protect yourself. And that can bring you into very hermetic states, or cue hermitology, full stop, you know? You become hermit, you go into hermit mode, you ice other people out, you move away from people, you refuse to speak to people anymore, yeah? You're tired of being hurt, you're tired of being vulnerable, you're tired of being that positive light being in the room. But you could never say such, as such, because then you're egoic, yeah? Who the fuck do you think you are to even imply that you're smarter than someone else? Who do you even think you are to imply that you're a light worker, or you're nice, or that you're more positive or loving than anyone else? Yeah, you're who you are. You're allowed to feel that way. But if you've been in toxic relationships and grown up with family members that have minimized your reality and gaslit you and wanted you to feel like you're less than, because if you feel like you're better than them, then they're not gonna, that's not a good feeling for them, you know? I'm above what you lot do. I'm above this behavior. I'm above this community. Because all of you in this community, you're bad mind, and you spew shit and you talk about people all day. This could be like a friendship group, a group of colleagues, yeah? Associates, whatever. All of you go around snaking each other all day. All day you snake each other. And you expect me to stay here and be okay with that behaviour? No, I'm not. You lie and cheat and steal, yeah? You're all criminals. I've worked really, really hard to not be a criminal. So, do you know what? I'm going to need to swerve you nowadays, to be honest. Oh, you'll think you're too good for us. Unfortunately, yeah, I do. I'm not going to say it because it's awkward to say as such, but yeah, I do. And I should feel that way, even though I'm not allowed to. But I definitely feel that way, yeah. Because after all the years we've been coming up this way together, I chose to go in the right direction, positive and clean. But you don't think my direction's right because you have learned that criminality is the way. You have learned that chatting shit on people, snaking people, robbing people, being a rat, being a bad mind, being a demon in life, not knowing God is the right way, because that's the education you chose. That's the roots of learning you went down. That's the community ethics you chose. I chose a different route. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. But I'm not going to tear you down. But once again, you're tearing me down for not living the corrupt life that you live. Many of us go through this in the hood and in the communities that we come from. A range. Like in every group, like I said, I use black community as kind of the example here more than anything, because black conversations are incredibly important and they're not had enough from a real frank, straight down the line kind of point, because it's not had. We don't go there in conversation because I feel like as black people, we really just try to empower our narrative and our direction. And if you don't conform and you don't do what everyone else in the crew's doing and the gang's doing and the community's doing, we're not upholding each other to that same kind of standard of sometimes what isn't the best way to go, then you're just like you're not it. You're not it. The clout vibration in the hood community is so high. Clout wins every time over anything that would be morally right and a more positive thing to do. Is clout is the way. So if you're not clouty, don't expect to be received in that way. But and that's the same for you can go to a Muslim community, Islamic faith, and you can dive into someone who doesn't want to wear a hijab. You can dive into somebody who doesn't pray the right amount of times a day. Someone who doesn't present perfectly in line with religion, and does things that will be seen as haram. Any relation or connection to anyone else from the LGBT community. Yeah, one of your friends from school is gay or a lesbian, and they're out, and your family know it. You like the association to that. Anyone else who even is potentially bisexual and coming from an Islamic family, yeah, just straight away, the understanding of that very different. The acceptance of that not there. You're shunned. You become that person, right? You can go to Asian faiths as well, and there's certain standard and expectation that there would be to there's the stereotype. I use stereotypes a lot over here, guys, not to limit our communities and cultures, but to pull on the easiest thread to show you that sometimes there is higher levels of ignorance there, or trappings there, the role models, the stereotypes that do kind of perpetuate us to perceive our culture or race or religion in a very specific way. So it's like the Asian that has to be the doctor. Yeah, a lot of pressure in Asian communities to kind of go down that same route and lineage. I don't want to be a doctor, a physician, or someone higher level, right? A lot of pressure in Asian communities to really go down very specific routes, yeah? And a lot of Asian younger generations want to break away and do something more alternative that doesn't bring in a specific kind of market cap that the family are used to having, you know? And so that's quite difficult too. When we speak about white communities as well, there's a lot of specific expectations, standards, you know, in regards to, it depends on where you're from. We can dive into British culture a little bit, British values, yeah? So if we talk about the far right, for example, it's about keeping that white lineage, that white heritage. Be like, that's the extreme of the conversation, is keeping our community, our family, our network inherently white. Yeah, there were conversations even in the monarchy in the United Kingdom that Archie being born with Meghan and Harry as the parents would create somewhat of a darkened royal, which was a concern for the royal family. Some people in the royal family had concerns over there being a mixed race royal, you know? So many different scopes, and this is meant to be about education today, but I don't even know how to word what I've just spoken about for the last half an hour or so, because this is still a conversation of education, and maybe we come back and we dive into it a little bit more and we do a layer 2, a part 2 of this, because what we've only really just stumbled upon today is how education differs based on your community group, and how race and religion and life experience infers, manipulates, impacts how you learn, how you receive, and how educated you are. So we're going to have to come back and dive in a lot more here, because there is so much to unpack. And I haven't really gone to the left of the spectrum and the right of the spectrum that I get to do every single week, right? Because I want to go left and right within the black community specifically and dive into the constructs of what we struggle with and where we've come from and what limits us. Black people are deemed the lowest educated in statistics. We are the most failing demographic. Jamaicans in that as well are potentially the worst. It's really sad, really, really, really sad that black people are failing across the board. In regards to the West, in the UK and the United States, our statistics are disgusting. Yeah, we're failing outright all the time, and it's just devastating to see. But not only that, there's conversations to be had about so many immigrants, asylum seekers, Eastern Europeans, so many other cultures that are coming into the fold as well, and how they are also suffering, and what it means to live in the West, what it means to be a migrant as part of this education, and what it means to be struggling, deprived, poor, yeah, versus wealthy, yeah, and how, street smarts is a real thing. In the black community and growing up, street smarts is what kind of guides us. But then street smarts leads to what? Grooming gangs, gang culture, life on the block, life on the streets. As I speak, I'm bouncing between America and UK energy here when I say that, because we kind of find solace and comfort in what? Those around us, those on the streets, those in the community, and none of us are in mainstream institutionalized jobs. No one wants to sit in with a woman in the plagiarism fucking board telling you ain't shit, but your work's too good to be true. Do you get what I mean? Why would I entertain that? Anyone else, a lot of people would have just said, fuck it, I quit, I'm not doing this. I nearly walked away in 2018 from education after that, because I just thought, fuck this. But it drove me in a way where I was like, no, I'm going to break this curse. I'm not going to tolerate this bullshit. Especially because I had issues with her about my clairvoyance. She kept shitting on my clairvoyance in front of everyone as well. And I was just like, oh, that's what we're doing, is it? You think I'm going to let my community die out? Like, the witches have already been burnt. You think you're going to keep burning me in this lifetime? Not at all. No. That's not going to work here. So that was my little, like, fuck it. Let's go. Radical self-love. That's when I buckled down. I was like, I need to love myself more. All I know right now is where I'm at in my life is all I can do is love myself more. Ain't no one else going to love me. Ain't no one else going to support me. Ain't no one else going to stand for me. I need to love me more. Because the slap in the face of receiving that poor grade after my work was too good to be true, but I got a poor grade for that. Cool. That was really one of those moments like, okay, you got the shit end of the stick here. You are destined for absolute dog shit in this lifetime if you don't do something about it independently on your own. So where do we go? What do we do? What is the right way to go? And actually, as radicalism continues to kick off and we talk about these key issues in psychology and assess it through sociology and human development, where do I go without being a radicalized motherfucking leftist or rightist that turns into a terrorist and decides to destroy the fucking planet, huh? How do we reduce terrorism? How do we reduce radicalism? How do we reduce all the awful things that can stem up in humanity? Because at the end of the day, this woman's implying you ain't shit. You might as well just go and just kill yourself. Why not? Why not choose to be a school shooter or a terrorist? Why not go down that route in life? Do you get what I mean? We have to understand the awful trappings of the mind and the awful way in which all of our behaviours incentivize violence, could potentially promote terrorism, could induce psychosis, depression, PTSD, anxiety, tear people down, create evil constructs in this world. And I don't want to be egoic in this now moment, but it feels like I am when I say this, but it comes to a point in all of us where we have to kind of choose who we want to be in this lifetime. And I guess that is the founding moment for me in life where I said, okay, I can just quit and do nothing and be a bum on the streets and just do absolutely nothing in life, or I can actually be radically love myself and become something that has purpose and meaning. Because in my mind it really did come down to that moment where I was in a low place, and I was talking to one of my other friends at the time, and I was like I've never been like suicidal before, like I've never been like questioning it. And she was like, when I was in my undergraduate degree, I was the same way. Second year of my undergraduate, yeah, I nearly jumped off the roof. Do you get what I mean? Like we go through shit, and it challenges us because we're being encouraged to conform to an education style that isn't necessarily ours. And I speak on that, and I speak on radical self-love, and the reason I speak on radical self-love so specifically is because of the word radical that's used in it, and because radicalism is a real thing, and it's a really, really awful pathway towards terrorism and destruction on this planet, which is something that we're heading more and more towards with all of these ideologies. Because at the end of the day, school shooters are real, yeah, terrorists are real. You've seen the awful killings that have happened this year, last year, all the things around the world, yeah? Radically loving myself was okay to do because it didn't come with violence or crime or terrorism. I chose to radically love myself. But what if I chose to radically kill myself? What if I decided to radically start a cult of anti-education? Anti that university, anti anyone who isn't clairvoyant? What if I wanted to start a massive rally of Black Lives Matter and target that university and have everyone around there screaming abuse at the prejudice I experience as a black female? You know? Like, we have to understand what it really, 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 really means to be a role model. That's the truth. So although we haven't dived into so many areas of education that I would have liked to today, you have to be a healthy role model. And what disappointed me with that lecturer, that senior lecturer, who was also leading of the department, is her words to say that someone like you could never do this incited something really, really awful. Like, in America, where school shooters are all the rage, that could have ended in disaster. If she was out there working out there, and if a teacher in the United States made a comment like that, how do you know that wouldn't have resulted in school shootings? I speak openly and bluntly about these things because I know who I am, and I know I'm not a sick, twisted individual. But I study psychology, and I'm obsessed with the mind and dimensions of consciousness and yin and yang and light and dark. So I understand the constructs of how easily it is to turn and go down a darker route, being more of a negative person. Yeah? I used to be moody and grumpy all the time and be like, fuck this, fuck that, I hate life, be really negative and low vibrational. So the truth of the matter is, what are we doing? Every single one of us, no matter what you do every day, to make sure that the role and your behaviour and what you're giving off to humanity and to everyone else that's in your proximity is of a stabilised degree that doesn't incite or promote radicalisation, promote unhealthy constructs in someone else's mind. Nobody cares about what other people go through psychologically. No one cares about other people's mental health. The fact that Rachel Reeves is also still working around the clock and is constantly shoved in the front of the camera after what she went through crying in the House of Commons like that, I also think that's fucking disgusting. Give the woman a day off. Give the woman a few days to breathe. But no, we've got to push this economic agenda. Because she's blatantly cried because the money's fucked, currency's fucked, the United Kingdom's fucked, but now she's just got to keep pushing through and working. No respect for mental health and emotional well-being. None. The woman is drained. Give her some time, my goodness. You know? But that's not what's important here. And this conversation feels quite harsh today because it feels like I'm putting myself in the firing line to be seen as someone negative or speaking on really heavier issues. But this, like, I am the center point of all. We are the center point of our own reality, and my perspective stems from me and all the different plethoras of emotions. Like, Plutchek's will is what I refer to quite frequently, and Hegel. So we'll reference Hegel and Plutchek in this, and I'll pin some pieces of their work underneath so you can understand where the context of conversation comes from, just to ground this. Because when we talk about Plutchek's emotion will, we're looking at a spectrum of emotions that are constantly spinning round and round, and that's from fear to rage, from really, really positive stuff to really, really dark stuff, right? So when I use that example of me kind of being accused of plagiarism, it's like in every single one of us, our moral compass is ticking, yeah? Our Plutchek wheel of emotion is ticking, yeah? In that moment, I love TV shows. We're going to pin this and leave it here and come back to this at a later point in time, right? But I love the TV show Peep Show. Peep Show, where it's about the guy who is constantly talking in his head. And his life's playing out in front of all of us, but it's an introspective piece. The narration over the whole show it's one of my favourite shows. It's British, it's hilarious, it's proper, like, just straight up British banter and culture, but it's just narrated. The whole thing's fully narrated of him just talking in his head, but then living the experience. And that's what we're all really going through, right? It's I think therefore I am, Descartes' philosophy as well. Your mind is going, and it's about understanding. Not you don't need to care enough about anyone else's internal compass or anyone else's wheel of emotions, but you've got to understand they exist there, and you don't want to be a trigger or a negative inference on someone else, because at the end of the day, like that man in the boy who killed those 3 little girls, who in their right mind goes to a Taylor Swift dance class and starts stabbing little girls? Who does that? What's going on in their psyche? What has triggered them? Why are there school shooters all over America and not really anywhere else? What is inciting that behaviour? Yeah? There's reasoning for this. We have to look at that. And that starts with ourselves. Before we can do anything else and start doing bigger studies on all this stuff, let's make sure at least we are presenting and seeing others with that understanding that they can go anywhere on that spectrum, and they can choose to be radical to a minus degree or radical to a plus, minus or plus. Every single day there's an opportunity to be minus or plus on the spectrum of life, from the left to the right, far left and far right. Terrorism in the future is just going to get worse and worse. The things that we're going to see over the next decade, right? Like from maybe 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to start seeing the seeds of what we've really created in our lives, especially with the borders and immigration and the changes in law and all of the things that's happened since COVID. By 2020, by 4 years from now, right? So just before we get to 2030, we'll say 2029, yeah? We're going to really start seeing terror in a different way, protest in a different way. I don't like protests, full stop. Like, I can't stand it. I'm so sorry as a black person. I don't like the Black Lives Matter movement and the way that goes about and how that occurs in the streets. I'm sorry, I don't. When it's clouty and it's propaganda, I don't like it. There's a lot of other ways where we can change the world and do positive stuff, because a lot of these communities are used in really negative ways, and they're secretly or underhandedly riddled with a radicalist agenda that is going to lead to serious terror in the future. And I really, 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 really worry about what is going to happen to our black people when these kind of, I wanted to say cells, decide to come up and take on the likes of Tommy Robinson. I do not want to see black and white civil wars on our streets. I don't want to see it. I see Asian communities taking on that battle more than black people are, because actually the EDL has been around for a very, 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 very long time, and black people have always been in a position, no blacks, no whites, no blacks, no Irish, no dogs, to really just remove themselves from that environment, because it was going to be an absolute beating. Yeah, so we've been ingrained from our lineage to really just make sure we don't get taken down. The IC3 knows gel very well. Stop and search is a very standard protocol for a black person, so we're not stupid. But the Asian community that have come over here in flux and become British citizens, or become part of the British culture, they're the ones that fight EDL more frequently, and they're incredibly hated by EDL as well. And the rise in that Asian communities and the EDL is also a massive fear. And then radicalization sits in both of those paradigms in major ways. Yeah. So scary, like terror cells, serious warfare. So it's nice when, like, you might think it's all cute when Just Stop all go out and throw tins of soup on paintings, or run onto the private jet strip and block the way, or stand in the middle of the street and do that, or when everyone's marching Black Lives Matter. It's all nice in the moment, but I'm a futurist, yeah? Radicalization, terror sits in these cells, and these cells are Tommy Robinson's far gone, reforms now at the front door. That's a whole party of white supremacy on the rise over there, yeah, on the far right. Nigel Farage, the front head, the spearhead for Tommy Robinson's whole community, ready to take the house, yeah. We're looking at in a world where we've just signed a deal to take so many immigrants, more and more, from France, anyone that comes over. Migration, there's some serious stuff going on in the world, guys, and it's about educating yourself on that, to understand that it's not just a conversation of black or white. It's not just a conversation of race or religion. There's so much going on in the world, and every stance and position I take and opinion that I come forward with, whether it's liked or not, is sitting in the roots of let's prevent fucking terrorism, yeah? Let's prevent war. Let's prevent severe bloodshed and devastation in our communities, because that's what the future holds if we're ignorant here and we lack education here. And when we look at someone else as black or white and make it a simple racial issue, or you're an undergraduate so it's not enough, you're this so it's not, those off-the-cuff statements that minimize someone else's reality. Yeah? And no one's immune. I'm not a nice person. I'm a bitch all the time. I shitpost all the time. I'm not perfect, yeah? I hurt people's feelings. I'm pretty sure I do. But I don't desire to do so. And I do really consider how my behaviour, my antics and my life choices could make someone else spiral into more degrees of radicalism and less degrees of self-empowerment and liberation. So that's where the education starts, with ourselves and the roles that we play in society today and who we choose to be. So we're going to leave it there, and goodness gracious me, maybe come back with a series that isn't this intense, because we dug this shit out today. Love and light. I'll be back soon with more.